Have you ever felt sort of stuck in a negative emotion?
Oh, totally.
Like you just can't shake it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, this deep dive
Okay.
is all about how to find that emotional U-turn to get back to feeling good.
I'm in. So what's so special about this Anjing Khan thing?
What's really cool
Oh,
is
sorry.
it presents this idea of well-being not as like some far-off thing,
Right.
but as this constant stream, like it's always there.
Always available, yeah.
Yeah. So it makes you wonder if all this good stuff is always flowing towards us,
Mm-hmm.
why do we often miss it?
Yeah, it's like we're standing under a waterfall,
Totally.
but we've got this massive umbrella blocking all the good vibes.
That's a great analogy. How do we lower that umbrella?
Well, the source talks about an emotional scale. Picture it like a ladder
Okay.
with despair and powerlessness at the very bottom.
Right down there in the dumps,
Exactly. And then like empowerment and freedom at the top.
reaching for the stars.
And then all those emotions we feel are in between, right? Like rage, anger, frustration, even pessimism.
And then on the flip side, you've got hopefulness, optimism, appreciation.
Yeah, belief, love, knowing,
Mm-hmm.
all that good stuff.
So it's about where you are on the ladder.
Right. The source emphasizes the relative positions of these emotions,
Yeah.
like the actual words.
Oh, I see.
They might mean different things to different people,
Sure.
but what matters is understanding their relationship to each other.
So like anger, which we usually think of as negative,
Yeah.
is actually higher up than despair.
A step in the right direction, yeah.
So instead of trying to deny those negative emotions,
Yeah.
we can use them to guide us back to well-being.
It's like, okay, I feel frustrated, but hey.
At least it's not despair.
Exactly. Gotta
Okay.
keep climbing.
And that brings us to this idea from the source, deliberate emotional choice.
That's a good one.
It's like we can choose our emotions, even anger.
Well, yeah, it might sound kind of strange, but
It does.
sometimes anger is a necessary step, especially when we're feeling totally powerless.
I guess I can see that.
It's about reclaiming your agency, your control.
Even if it's through a so-called negative emotion.
Right. Say you're feeling completely defeated, just depressed and powerless.
Oh, I've been there.
The source suggests feeling rage, even though it's not exactly socially acceptable,
True.
is actually closer to empowerment than just wallowing in despair.
So it's like instead of being the victim, you're like,
yeah,
hey, I'm angry about this.
that's it.
It's that fight, that reclaiming your power.
Exactly. And you got to own that anger. Don't let it consume you.
Mm,
It's like, okay, I'm choosing to feel angry right now
interesting.
because it feels better than feeling powerless. And I'm going to keep reaching for an even better feeling than anger.
Okay, I get it.
You're using that anger to move up the emotional scale,
Instead of just letting my emotions drive me all over the place.
taking control of the steering wheel.
I like that.
Now, this source also brings up this idea of selfishness.
Wait, selfishness? I thought we were talking about well-being.
It's not what you think. It's not about being like a jerk.
Okay.
It's about understanding that putting your well-being first is actually good for everyone.
I'm not sure I follow.
So the source says that every single point of consciousness,
Every what?
like from a tiny cell to a human being, inherently seeks what's best for itself.
Okay.
It's natural. It's about survival and growth.
Right.
It's not about being greedy,
Okay.
but recognizing that you have a responsibility to take care of your own well-being.
So like filling up your own cup first.
Exactly.
So you can pour into others from a place of abundance.
Yes. And here's the really cool part. The source says there's no competition for good stuff.
No competition. What's the good stuff?
Well, it's that well-being we've been talking about, that positive energy.
Okay.
And there's no competition because it's not a finite resource.
Like it doesn't run out.
Exactly. Your well-being doesn't take away from mine. The universe is abundant. There's more than enough good to go around.
So my well-being actually contributes to the well-being of the whole universe.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
When we focus on allowing well-being into our own experience, we're actually helping to expand it for everyone.
Wow, this is like mind-blowing. But if well-being is this infinite resource,
Yeah.
how do we actually tap into it?
That's a great question, and that's exactly what we're going to explore next time.
Next time.
Yeah. We'll unpack this awesome analogy of the cork in water,
I'm intrigued.
and then we'll talk about how even those tiny shifts in our emotions
Okay.
can actually change our reality.
So we were talking about how well-being is this like infinite resource, and our emotions are like currents that can either like pull us away or
Yeah.
help us flow towards it.
It's a good way to think about it.
But how do we actually ride those emotional waves, like, effectively?
Well, that's where this cork and water analogy comes in.
Okay.
It's so simple, but it really gets the point across.
Okay, I'm listening.
Imagine you've got a cork, and you're holding it underwater.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how hard you try to keep it down there.
Right.
The second you let go, it pops right back up.
So, like, we're the cork.
Yeah.
And our natural state is to be, like, buoyant.
Fact,
Always trying to rise to the surface.
we're resilient. We want to bounce back.
But we get so caught up in our thoughts that we forget about that, huh?
Exactly. We forget we have that natural buoyancy.
Like, we're so scared of sinking that we hold on even tighter to the things that are actually weighing us down.
We're adding weights to the cork.
We forget that letting go can actually help us rise.
Letting go is key.
But letting go doesn't mean denying our negative emotions.
No, not at all.
It's more about seeing them
Acknowledging them.
and then choosing thoughts that feel a little better.
Even just a little bit.
So it's not like forcing ourselves to be happy all the time.
No, no, no.
It's about those little shifts in our thinking, those tiny U-turns to guide ourselves back to a more expansive feeling.
It's a process, not a destination.
Exactly. It's a journey, right?
A constant reaching for better feeling thoughts.
And it's not about reaching some perfect state of bliss and just staying there.
That sounds kind of boring, honestly.
Yeah. It's the ups and downs that make life interesting.
Exactly.
So we'll dip down into those negative emotions sometimes.
That's natural.
It's part of life.
We all go through it.
But we can use what we've learned to find our way back up.
Like learning to surf.
I like that.
You're riding the waves instead of getting wiped out.
And even when we're feeling down, there's always something to appreciate. Something that can shift our perspective.
It could be anything. The sunshine. A nice word from a friend.
Oh, yeah. Even like the smell of coffee in the morning.
Absolutely.
It's funny you mentioned that. The other day I was feeling super stressed.
Mm.
And I just happened to see this spider web in my garden.
Okay.
And I don't even like spiders that much, but
I get it.
this web was so intricate and delicate.
Wow.
It completely changed my mood.
Yeah.
I went from anxious to awestruck, just like that.
Those little moments can be so powerful, right?
It's like they remind us that even when things feel chaotic,
Yeah.
there's still beauty and wonder to be found.
Exactly. It's about training ourselves to see those glimmers of positivity.
Because those little glimmers, no matter how small, can help us start moving back up that emotional scale.
They're little reminders.
Like, hey, you're still connected to that well-being.
Even when you don't feel it.
Okay, this is where it gets even more interesting.
Yeah.
This source is saying that when we focus on our emotional journey, instead of what's happening around us, we actually start to change our reality.
Wait, are we talking about manifestation here?
Because I gotta admit, that whole thing sometimes feels a little out there.
I hear you.
Like, can I really think my way to a new car? Or a dream vacation?
It's not quite that simple.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing that our inner world shakes our outer world.
So if I feel good,
Yeah.
good things will happen.
It's about aligning yourself vibrationally with well-being.
Hmm.
When we do that, the physical stuff has to follow.
So, like, when you're in a good mood,
Yeah.
it seems like everything goes your way.
Things just fall into place.
But it's not just wishful thinking, right?
Of course not. You still got to take action.
So it's not about sitting on the couch visualizing $1 million
No.
and expecting it to just appear.
You got to do the work.
So I guess it's more about shifting my emotional state
That's it.
to a place where I'm open to those positive experiences.
You're receptive to the good stuff.
And then I'm inspired to take action.
And create the life you want.
So it's like becoming a vibrational match to the things we want.
Exactly.
If I want more abundance, I need to cultivate a feeling of abundance.
Yes. And if you want more love,
I need to start by loving myself.
that's it. It takes practice. It takes effort.
But it's possible.
Absolutely. Anyone can do it.
That's what's so exciting. It's not some secret.
It's for everyone.
It's for anyone who's willing to do the work.
The inner work.
And speaking of inner work,
Yeah.
how can we actually apply all of this to our daily lives?
That's the big question, right?
How can we become more aware of our emotions?
Yeah.
And make those choices that lead us to well-being?
We'll get into all that in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we're not done yet.
We're just getting started.
I can't wait to hear more.
Stay with us.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of this deep dive into Shanxianis.
It's been a wild ride.
Right. We've covered so much, this whole emotional scale, this
Yeah.
idea of like choosing our emotions and remembering that well-being.
is like this constant flow we can all tap into.
It's always there.
But how do we actually put all of this into practice, like in our everyday lives?
Yeah, good question.
Because it's one thing to talk about it, but another to actually do it, you know?
Well, the source actually gives us some really practical advice.
Okay, good.
One of the big things is taking responsibility for how we feel.
So it's not about waiting for things to change around me.
Exactly.
It's about making the change inside first.
Yeah, got it.
So instead of saying, I'll be happy when I get that promotion, it's more like, I'm going to choose to feel good right now.
And that'll help you attract the promotion.
Right. Like, my happiness doesn't depend on something outside of me happening.
It's about recognizing that your emotions aren't just caused by what happens to you, but by your thoughts and beliefs about those events.
So I have more control than I think I do.
Way more.
Okay, so if I'm stuck feeling negative, the first step to become aware of the thoughts that are making me feel that way. I hit the pause button.
Yeah, and say, hold on, what's going on in my head right now?
And a lot of times you'll find those thoughts are coming from these old beliefs or past experiences that aren't helpful anymore.
Like baggage we're carrying around.
Exactly. It's like wearing shoes that are way too tight.
You wouldn't keep wearing those, would you?
No way. You get a new pair that fit better.
So it's the same with thoughts.
You can swap out the old limiting thoughts for new empowering ones.
And we don't have to like overhaul everything at once.
No, small steps.
Even little changes in my thinking can make a difference.
Even tiny shifts.
It's not about forcing myself to feel ecstatic when I'm down.
Right.
It's about finding a thought that feels just a tiny bit better.
That's it.
Like creating a little more space for that well-being to flow in.
The source calls it reaching for the best feeling thought you have access to.
I like that.
Something you can practice all day long.
Whenever I notice myself slipping into negativity.
We can catch those thoughts.
So it's like having a toolkit full of,
positive affirmations, happy memories.
Inspiring quotes.
Things that give me a boost.
Your emotional first aid kit.
Instead of dwelling on what's wrong.
You reach for something that feels better.
Something that reminds me I'm strong and resilient.
Exactly. And the more you practice,
the
easier it gets to shift your emotional state.
It's like working out a muscle.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And eventually it becomes almost automatic to catch those negative thoughts.
And redirect your attention to something positive. Like we're training our minds to be more aware of well-being.
To recognize it and embrace it.
And here's the really cool part.
Tell me.
As we get better at understanding our own emotions, we actually start to influence the world around us.
What do you mean?
Like our inner transformation creates positive change outside of us.
So we become magnets for good things.
People want to be around our positive energy.
Yeah, opportunities just appear.
It's not about trying to control the universe. It's about becoming a vibrational match to the things we want.
If you radiate joy and abundance, you'll attract more of that into your life.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
I
think the most important thing to remember is that we're not victims.
We're not powerless.
We can choose our thoughts, which shapes our emotions.
And ultimately creates our reality.
We are powerful creators.
You got it.
Just like the source material says, you are good. You deserve good. Good is coming to you. So go out there and get happy.